Ipob warns of unimaginable consequences and of Nigeria if anything untoward happens to Nnamdi Kanu in DSS custody. My dear listeners, thanks for joining. Here is another fresh details coming from the indigenous people of Biafra, Ipob, as it sends an urgent warning of unimaginable consequences and of Nigeria if anything untoward happens to their leader, Nnamdi Kanu, in DSS custody. Moving on to the full details, kindly please ensure you like, subscribe to this channel and share. The indigenous people of Biafra Ipob has raised an alarm over the worsening health condition of its detained leader, Nnamdi Kanu, warning the Nigerian government and its international partners that there will be dire consequences if anything happens to Kanu. In a statement issued on Tuesday by its spokesperson, Comrade Emma Powerful, Ipob accused the Department of State Services, DSS, of deliberately endangering Kanu's life through prolonged detention and poor medical care. Ipob said the situation had reached a breaking point, warning that any further deterioration could spark a crisis with grave consequences for Nigeria and the wider region. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is priceless, and no amount of blackmail, judicial rascality, or DSS-induced health crisis will be tolerated, the statement read. Ipob likened the situation to a historic global flashpoint, comparing Nigerians' continued detention of Kanu to the event leading up to the First World War. The group insisted that the extraordinary rendition of Kanu from Kenya in 2021 violated international law and described his continued detention as an act of provocation that risked plunging the Southeast into turmoil. If anything untoward happens to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the consequences will be unimaginable, and Nigeria as presently constituted will cease to exist, Ipob warned. The separatist group also accused the British government of complicity, claiming that London's neo-colonial interest had emboldened Abuja to keep Kanu in custody. Ipob further lashed out at what it called Igbo collaborators and political jobbers, insisting that history would vindicate its struggle. Ipob called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, the DSS, and international stakeholders to ensure Kanu's unconditional release without delay. Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder, and Ipob will not be held responsible for what happens if this provocation continues, Ipob declared. Kanu was first arrested in 2015 on charges of treason and terrorism, related offenses after spearheading a renewed agitation for the creation of an independent state of Biafra in Nigerian southeast. He was later granted bail in 2017, but fled the country, resurfacing in Israel and later in the United Kingdom. In June 2021, he was intercepted and returned to Nigeria under controversial circumstances, widely described by his supporters as an illegal abduction from Kenya. Since then, he has been in DSS custody facing multiple charges. Despite repeated court orders granting him bail or directing his transfer to a correctional facility, the Nigerian government has maintained that Kanu poses a security threat. His detention has fueled tensions in the southeast, where sit-at-home protests, violence and economic disruptions have linked to Ipob's activities. Kanu's out has been a recurring concern, with his lawyers and family members repeatedly claiming that he requires urgent medical attention not available in detention. So my dear listeners, now we've come to the end of our today's news, and now before I go, my dear listeners, well, we know that the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu in the DSS custody is not really making sense any longer. And unequivocally, if anything untoward happened to Nnamdi Kanu, it won't speak well. It will only bring unease to the country, of which I expect the Nigerian government to look into before holding this person. By now, I think the whole thing should have been solved, and they should have judged him or released him